It's a new year. 2023 is here. Putting on my list of minis. Newsies and let's cheers. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the past. Time to get on the Not Your Average Joe podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Joe. So, today we are actually going to be talking about a pretty serious topic that has affected my life and I'm sure has impacted many other people's lives for sure. So, today's topic of the day is actually going to be on cancer. So, I'm personally wearing blue because March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And this is actually a blue. This was a team shirt that like me and some of my family wore in honor of our mom who had colon cancer. And we each year, or I mean, we've done it for 2 years. This will be our third year here very soon. That we will be doing this 5K called the Rumpshakers here in Birmingham, and we are going to do it in honor of her. You know how we have a team, and we got some matching shirts going on, and I think it's going to be a good time. So I wanted to talk about cancer for many reasons. For one, I know that many people are impacted by cancer. Somebody knows somebody that's got cancer, or you may be personally going through cancer. And the reason why I want to share this story of cancer, about my mom's story, is because I know that there's hope within this story, but I know that there's some tough battles that were in this story as well. That's in this story, and I just want to, give her story and to bring awareness. I mean, I know everybody is aware of cancer, but to bring awareness to the things that the person with cancer goes through and the stuff that we go through as someone that is watching our loved one go through cancer. So I'm going to rewind this back to 2018. So a little bit after Thanksgiving of 2018, my mom started having pain down there in her abdomen, and I didn't really think too much of it. And because I was thinking maybe you just never know. I don't know if it's a stomach bug. I don't know if it's sorry for the TMI, but not sure if it's a bathroom issue. Not sure if she's you know gone to the bathroom as much, if there's constipation. But just I was never thinking that it would be cancer. So anyways, it just turned into her having this same problem for a while, for a little while, a little too long, probably close to like a week, and before anything was done. And she was comparing this pain to like labor, like being in labor. And I know I'm not a woman, so I don't know what that feels like, but from what I hear, labor is awful, it's painful. And I definitely don't want to ever go through that, which I mean I know I never will. But shout out to the women. So anyways, you know, uh so we ended up taking her to the ER, or I ended up taking her to the ER. It was around 2 or 3 in the morning. It was during the week. I remember that because I remember I had school the following day, but thankfully I had night classes to where I was able to sleep in because at the time, I had a part-time job to where I was working during the evenings anyways. But on this certain day, it may have been like a Wednesday going to Thursday because I think Thursdays I went to school. So, anyways, I think it was a Wednesday night, or technically Thursday morning around 2, 3 a.m. So I took my mom to the ER, and they had some concerns. They brought up that they were worried that it was cancer, and that like she really, 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 really needed to get this checked. And so we and they ended up referring us to somebody here in town, and it took a little bit to eventually, get her to, uh, to get my mom to seeing this doctor. And anyways, she went through the process of like being with her. My mom ended up having a hysterectomy, and because she was having like big like abscess here on her abdomen, but then she also had a mass too showing. So, so yeah, there was that as far as the hysterectomy goes, and um she she was in the hospital for a few days, actually, maybe like probably, I don't know, probably even close to a week, maybe. And and I remember her being in the hospital for sure because like a few days before, she had a hysterectomy, but a few days later, um, I ended up graduating from UAB. I got my bachelor's degree in computer science, got my mathematics minor in there as well. Um, I remember being there at graduation, and I remember seeing like my dad, some of my siblings there, my in-law, my sister-in-law, um, and I remember after the graduation, going out for lunch, to celebrate my graduation. And, both of these things, she wasn't able to make it, um, because of her recovering from the hysterectomy. And, but thankfully, my sister-in-law, went up there and watched me graduate online with my mom, on Facebook. So, Facebook Live, thank goodness for technology nowadays. And so yeah, she ended up watching me graduate and probably got a better view of me than actually being there because, you're like a little ant, I guess, in a crowd of, thousands that are graduating. But, um, but there were moments where I guess I had some close ups on camera. So, there's that. And then, anyways, so after my graduation, I remember, going to lunch for to celebrate my graduation. And after that, I went to the hospital to see my mom. And showed her my cap and gown, and a lot of my family was up there, to go to visit her as well. And, and I remember after that going to a hockey game with my brother. So, so it was a pretty eventful day. But, anyways, at this point, we did not know that it was cancer. They did a hysterectomy and they did some removing, of that abscess that was sitting there that was causing her some pain. So, a few days later, after my graduation, I was at work and I got a call from one of my brothers who told me that she was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And when you hear that kind of news, I mean, I know for her, I know it's definitely got to be even worse than, for me, of course, because I'm not the one personally going through it. But for her to personally go through it, it was, I'm sure it definitely was scary and definitely just shocking and just terrifying. But when I heard it, the news, I was pretty, down for the rest of the day. I never would have expected stage 4 colon cancer of all things. And it was, pretty shocking thing for sure because, it was just, we had just so many questions, wondering what is this, what's going on. And so, anyways, I remember, at one point her being in the hospital, um, just talking, just, being very, she was very, of course, sad about this news and, scared that she wouldn't see the next year Christmas, she wouldn't be here for Christmas. And, it's very sad to hear that. And, because you just never know people, you do wonder, being a loved one, seeing someone go through cancer, you do wonder is are they going to make it? And so I can understand those questions and those fears that she may have and that you may have as a loved one. So so anyway, I'm gonna kind of speed up the story. So throughout 2019, she went through 9 rounds of chemo, and if I know a lot of, she went through a lot of stuff, of course, the stuff the stuff like losing weight and everything tasting off. And there are some things to this day that still tastes weird to her. And the good thing that I guess I could say out of it is that um she never lost any hair. So, and I know that there are many people that may be watching or listening to this that have a loved one or they personally lost their hair during their cancer journey. Um, but I was, in a way, I was glad for my mom that that wasn't the case because she was already going through enough stuff. And as far as just being uncomfortable, being in pain, everything tasting weird and being weak. So yeah, she went through 9 rounds of chemo. After her ninth chemo, she ended up having surgery to remove the rest of the cancer because the cancer wasn't growing, but it wasn't exactly shrinking either. It was like hidden way up in her. So they ended up um doing that and getting the rest of the cancer out. And then she ended up having like numbness in her leg, like after the surgery, one of her legs. And I remember her coming home, and I remember she fell, a couple times throughout the weeks. And then a few weeks later, on September 12th, 2019, um, I remember this day so clearly, because I still live with my parents, and I remember that morning. I've never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so me and my mom were watching some of it while I was eating breakfast before I head out to work. Before I was heading out to work, which at this point I was now working at Coca-Cola, and this was before COVID, so I was going into the office. So I remember watching part of the movie, and we said we were going to watch the second half of the movie tomorrow. So I remember leaving, and of course, getting in my car, heading to work. I remember on the way to work, there was a katydid, that green bug, just sticking on my car as I was riding the whole way through, and it was staring at me in the rearview mirror. Not rearview mirror, on the mirror on the side. Um, and I kept seeing that thing staring at me, and I think I probably even got out of my car on the other side, like on the right side of my car, or maybe I ended up getting out and somehow hitting it off, or something like that. Um, So I ended up, going into work. Of course, not, you know, thinking of nothing, just knowing that she had numbness still in her leg, but never thought that what happened next was going to happen. So I ended up um, getting a call from one of my brothers, and he told me that my mom was being like, she was getting in an ambulance and going to the hospital. So, and we all assumed that she just like fainted, as from what I thought initially, that she just fainted. And that, she was just being sent to the hospital, making sure that she's all right. So, of course, I was afraid, I was worried. And of course, I still stayed at work because I was thinking, well, maybe she just fainted and she'll be all right. So I ended up, still working, going to lunch and doing all that. And later in the afternoon, I got another call from the same brother, and he told me that that my mom, well, our mom, um, she's not doing good, and that she has 2 to 3 hours left to live. And when I heard that, I was speechless because like earlier that day I just saw her, I just went, just saw her. We were watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then you get to hear later in the day that she only had 2 to 3 hours to live. It was it was scary, to hear, that news. So I hung up, and I remember going back in, to the work area, and I remember asking my supervisor. I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want none of my coworkers to hear. So I messaged her asking her if I can talk to her out in the hallway. So, so she came out there and I told her the situation, but I was of course crying and, hysterically, who wouldn't. And she ended up telling me, yeah, it's gonna be okay, and that you need to go be there for her. And then I, left to go to the hospital, and and I guess I forgot to mention this, but like at some point throughout her cancer journey, well, before she even started her chemo, we moved her over to another hospital in town. So anyways, it was the hospital that she was at, now is closer. And so I got there within like 10, 15 minutes, and I was up there, and some of my family was already there. So we were all just sitting in the waiting room, and a lot of my family showed up. A lot of, like some of my in-laws' family showed up. Some people from church showed up, and we're all just sitting there, just wondering like what's gonna happen, what's happening back there through those double doors, like, and a lot of fear was going through my head, a lot of emotions, and just the what ifs, and wondering if she's gonna die today. And anyways, um, it was the whole journey of her going through cancer was already emotionally draining for me. I think 2019 was the most like draining year of my life. And anyways, the doctor came out. I don't even know the time or nothing. it seemed like forever just because you're just wondering what's happening back there. And he told my dad that she's okay. And, and I feel like I'm going through these like emotions again just because it's something that like changed my life. Yeah, and anyways, said that she was all right. I'm not sure if they told him all of this within that moment, but I'm gonna go ahead and say what happened back there. So they took her back there and they had to figure out or they found out that she had two blood clots that went into both of her lungs, which that's what caused her to faint. And somehow she woke up, like was conscious, at home. And and thankfully she was going to be going to physical therapy with and my dad was going to take her because of her leg. So she had to almost learn how to walk again in a way. So, with that leg. So my dad came in and my mom said it felt like eternity, just laying there, asking for help and you can't get nothing out because, you got something in your lungs. So, she thankfully the door, the front bathroom door was open. That's where she was. I think she was just putting something up in there and that's where she fainted. And my dad came running up the stairs, called 911, and that's when they, put her in the ambulance. So anyways, they found out that she had blood clots in both of her lungs, and they had to think of something quick to do to her for her to live. Because that's what they told, my dad that she only had 2 to 3 hours to live. And you know, sh and of course they were both like, "What? Like 2, 3 hours to live?" Like, shocking. It was a shock to all of us. And I mean, I know it's always going to be shocking when somebody dies that you don't expect to die. I mean, even though we're all expected to die at some point, but in that way and just that day, it was just crazy. But anyways, so back to what happened back there. So they had to kind of, come together with an idea, and an idea came up. To be honest, I don't know exactly what they did in this procedure, but all I know is that they had her awake the whole time. They were trying their best to like numb the pain, and she said she was still feeling the pain. But they had to do this procedure with her awake, just because of this this state of urgency as far as the 2 to 3 hour period that they felt like she had left to live. So they did a surgical procedure that only had a 30% chance of working, and it worked. So, um, so yeah, that after they told us the good news, she was okay. We all went walking all the way over to the ICU unit, where she was at. There were so many of us walking down that hallway. Um, I love that. Everybody was thinking, "Oh my gosh, like she's got a lot of support," and I thought that was awesome. I remember like being part of that. I almost felt like we were like having a parade for her being alive still. So yeah, we walked over to the other side of the hospital, and they said in the ICU only like 4 people were allowed at a time. So some people went in before me. I was one of the later ones to go. And I remember some of my family members were coming out like crying. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, because I'm, a pretty emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm kind of a softie, but especially with family, with my loved ones. And I remember my mom, I didn't see her at this point, but like these family members I have seen my mom were crying and they were telling me that she was saying goodbye to them and that she loved them. something happened to her, and I remember her breaking down before I even saw her because I was thinking like I don't want to say goodbye. I know not many people get the chance to say goodbye to their loved ones that tragically passed away so suddenly. And I know that would have been my opportunity to say goodbye, but it was just it was hard to take that in. And anyway, I remember, one of my family members came out, and said that her heart rate's going up and that we need to do our best to stay strong and to stay calm. So, so yeah, I had to go back there. I went back there to my two sisters. Um, we walked in. I had to keep a brave face and stay strong. And I remember telling her like, I, we still gotta watch the second part of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and she was just saying, we were just kind of talking, and she was talking about how she she was basically saying, if whatever happens, just know that I love y'all. And we just kept encouraging her and telling her, of course, that we love her too. And came out after all that. And of course, she was staying in a hospital for the rest of the night, of course, and for the next days. So, yeah, she ended up being okay after that situation. But it's still the hardest day and still the worst day that I could ever think of, because I really thought that I was losing my best friend that day. And I know people probably thinking you're such a mama's boy, but I guess I am. And and I remember just praying a lot, to please God, keep her alive. And I know that he's sovereign no matter what, even if he took her, to go to heaven. But I guess it was just and she already didn't see my graduation. And I told her I'd rather see her watch me get married and have children, and for her to meet my kids. And because right now I'm not married, I don't have children, and that's what I was, that's what I wanted her to be there on my wedding day. And anyway, so a lot of emotions were going into that. And sorry, y'all. So, anyways, after September, let's throw some happiness in here. Sorry, I'm kind of a mess, but so she started having to walk on a walker, and let me tell you some amazing things that happened. So by the time by the time she got to January, um, she was on a cane. She basically promoted from a walker to a cane. And eventually, after that, a few months after that, or a couple months after that, she got from a cane to walking on her own again. And I felt like maybe there was a time where they told her that, she may not walk, or like she may have that feeling in her leg and she may be numb there. I don't know if it meant forever or just for a long time, but she she was able to walk on her own after a few months. And nowadays, um, she's she's a fast walker. I had to keep up with her, even in like Walmart, to make sure I know that she's ahead, and here I am trying to catch up. So I just thought that was amazing. She was able to get herself back up and to um and to beat the odds. I love that. So, after they removed the cancer out of her body in August 2019, the few weeks, that's what led to the numbness in her leg, and that's what led to the blood clots in her lungs. Um, so they, so yeah, she's actually been cancer free ever since. So that was in August 2020. So it's been about 3.5 years of her being cancer free. And like I said, this blue is for colon cancer, like how breast cancer is pink, colon cancer is the blue ribbon. And I don't know if people have noticed, but on my wrist, I always wear this blue wristband. It says hope, faith, and love. And it has the blue colon cancer ribbon on it. Um, it's something that I always will wear. And, with, every March, of course, they have the Rumpshaker 5K that happens to raise awareness for colon cancer. So me and my family, go through, I go and do that. This will be our third year doing it here in a couple of weeks. So we'll be doing that. And I'm looking forward to that. So, um, so some people may be wondering, why did you share this story? The reason being is because there's hope at the end of this story. There's the light at the end of this tunnel. There's a rainbow at the end of the storm. Um, many people, it's just how you have a perspective, how you look at things, like your perspective on things. Um, she could have just accepted defeat, but she didn't. She got up. She was strong. She, was a champion, a warrior. She fought through it, went through a lot. And that September 2019 was not the first time that she almost lost her life. During the hysterectomy, some crazy stuff happened with that too. Back in December 2018, at the very beginning of it all. So, um, so I just want people to hear this story because there is hope. There is, um, not everybody has the same result, unfortunately. Some people actually do pass away from colon cancer or any kind of cancer. But I just don't want people to think, I just don't want anybody to ever accept defeat when they hear the diagnosis of cancer. I don't want their loved ones accepting defeat either. I don't want them thinking that I'm going to lose this loved one because they could easily get through it, or not easily. You know what I mean? They can get through this, and it's going to be challenging, but they're going to need you to be there as a support. So here's some advice that I would give if you're the person going through cancer. Of course, the diagnosis is going to be there. Don't let that be your time to quit. Don't let that be that your time to feel like you're going to give up on life and that you're going to accept defeat. Fight the good fight. Don't ever give up. Stay strong. Um, just live your life to the fullest, to the best of your abilities. And, you know, find ways to even have self-reflection moments and like moments of improvements and growth and progress. Like whether it's your spiritual life of your faith, whether it's your um just I don't know, hobbies, anything. So yeah, like I said, I am wearing this. And I actually have a picture here of some of us doing it our first year, and I don't know, it's kind of blurry, it's kind of hard to see, but I still have us sitting up here. in my room on my windowsill. So, so yeah, that's cool. And I know for your listeners, you're probably not able to see it, but it's just a picture of all of us the first year of the Rumpshakers um when we did that. So so yeah, I want people to see that there is hope, and cancer is not always a death sentence. It could be as a life changing thing for sure. And for the loved ones, just continue to be that support. Um, Continue to always be there for her, or him, whoever's going through cancer, excuse me. And just, you know, be strong for them. It's okay to have moments of sadness and fear and worry. Um, but just continue to pick yourself back up and to stay strong and to not let any question dwell within your mind. When it comes to these scary questions, you just got to give it up to God, because God will take you through it. And I feel like my faith grew a lot stronger in 2019, even though it was the most emotionally draining year. It was the most growth year as far as my faith. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. And He really did bring me through it. I did a lot of praying, and I do, even in 20, as I was in 2020, there, even now, I, I have been growing on my faith and getting into the Word and giving glory to God through it all. So there's one question that comes to mind, and other people may have some input as well on this. So I would love to hear your feedback on this. A question that comes to mind is something like, what are some things that you've learned throughout this whole cancer journey that you saw your mom go through? Or you could put your dad, your friend, your brother, or you have gone through. You fill in the blank there. So here's something that I've learned. Even though my mom doesn't have cancer anymore, as of right now, she's clear. Unfortunately, there is a high chance of it coming back. Right now, it hasn't, thankfully. But what I've learned is don't just show up only when the bad times are happening. Um, Too often I see families and family members only show up when they are actually going through cancer and when the bad times are happening. But like when they're clear of cancer, they stop showing up and stop coming around. And they just kind of take that person for granted. And it, it's something that it just bothers me, because it's like, why are you even like, you only show up during the bad times? Why don't you show up during the good times? So I think that's one piece of advice, or one thing that I've learned, is that I want to be there with my mom through the great and amazing moments. And I've had some amazing memories with her, with going on trips, whether it's to the beach or just going on road trips, or wherever. Even just going 20 minutes down the road to a restaurant. It's just another memory being made with my mom. And it when people do show up during the bad moments, it's almost like showing up to a funeral whenever someone dies, when you were never around them when they were alive. So it's almost like pointless. Like, why are you showing up to the funeral to see this person dead, if you could care less to see them alive? So um so yeah, and that never makes sense to me, why people do that. Why people wait until someone dies before they go see them. It's like, that's so pointless and stupid. Um, Appreciate every moment in your life. That's another good one that I love to, take in and to appreciate, everything that I have, and, still having my mom here and just appreciating even the thought of um I mean, I hate that she had cancer altogether, but just appreciating it that since she had cancer, that it happened before COVID. Because after March 2020, it kind of got hard to where not many people can go up at the same time. Some people couldn't even go up there at all at one point. And I'm just glad that she went through her cancer journey in 2019, before COVID happened. Because I just know that nowadays I feel like it would be a whole different situation. I couldn't just go always visit my mom. I did that a good bit at the hospital and spoke to her a lot. So, that's something that, and I guess appreciate in a way is that this all happened before COVID. And I know some people are even going through it right now when it comes to having it, whether it's during this COVID phase or after the COVID phase, whatever you want to call this. I mean, COVID is still real. It just isn't as um talked about nowadays as it used to be in 2020, 2021. So, just even for those that, have loved ones or if you're personally going through it, um, just try to find moments of gratitude. Um, whether it's you get to look outside the window and it's a beautiful day, or whether it's you're just God's given you another day to live here, and you have oxygen, you have loved ones that come up to see you, even if it is one or two at a time. And yeah, I just think that there's always a time where you can be grateful and have a um attitude of gratitude. And yeah, I mean, I think just overall seeing someone go through cancer, it could be a very humbling experience. Um, knowing that the bad things that I have ever complained about, it will never compare to this to someone going through cancer. Um, the small little petty stuff that I worry about or complain about, um, it's it's not it's not you can't even compare because cancer is all about life or death. It's a lot more drastic than me being worried about, somebody doing me wrong or something, or somebody ignoring me or not wanting to talk to me or whatever the case may be. So it's a very humbling experience, and I just had to continue to remind myself to be grateful for what I have, and even to be grateful for the bad stuff that I go through, knowing that it could be worse. Um, I mean, not that I'm like, oh, please give me some bad times and bad moments and bad friends. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, it could be worse, is all I'm saying. So remember everybody, don't give up. And, and if you are going through the cancer journey or a cancer scare, I can even personally say myself that at one point, my family members were concerned that I had cancer because I lost a lot of weight. About 10 years ago, I lost like down to 50 pounds and 50 pounds. And I was starting to have like this pain in my tailbone and it ended up not being cancer, thankfully, but we were all kind of scared that that's what it was. Ended up being a pill needle cyst. And I don't know if it personally affects your weight. The only thing I can say is once that pill needle cyst was removed, I ended up gaining the weight back. So I just assumed that it had something to do with it. But even going through that moment of having a cancer scare in that way was pretty scary. I started telling myself that God, you are faithful regardless, and you are sovereign and you are good. But at the same time, I was terrified and scared. So if there's even a possibility that you have cancer, or it's been confirmed that you have cancer, don't ever let that be a moment of defeat, and don't ever give up. And for the loved ones, um, let's continue to love them with or without cancer, and to appreciate that they are here, and to be grateful to God and to give glory to God. Because even though my mom was strong getting out through it all, it was due to the strength that God gave her. And for those that have loved ones that have passed away from cancer, um, I pray that there is comfort knowing that that they are not suffering. When if they've been faithful to God and they love Jesus and all that, and they accepted Him as their Lord and Savior, they are walking the streets of gold with no struggles as far as the cancer. And I think that's a happy ending that we all want, is heaven, of course. And yeah, I think that's actually going to end this topic today. Thank y'all for listening to me, or watching me. Thank you for letting me be open and honest and even emotional and vulnerable about this. Because even though it happened back in 2019, it still personally affects me to this day. And it just, I just got to remember to always be grateful for what I have, and that she's still here, and to just never lose hope, and to continue being faithful to God. So, anyways, everybody, I appreciate y'all watching or listening, whether it's on YouTube or most of the podcast streaming platforms. I appreciate your support there. So, anyways, everybody, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching this. And I will see y'all on the next episode of Not Your Average Joe. Talk to y'all later. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody that took the time to listen to this episode of Not Your Average Joel. My podcast is available not only on YouTube, but also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast from. I also have an Instagram page where you can see outstanding moments, behind the scenes, and even a funny moment or two from each episode at Not Your Average Joel Podcast. If you want to get in contact with me, then my Instagram page is probably the best way to do so through direct messaging. I appreciate any kind of support that you have given to this channel, whether you are a guest or a listener to this podcast. Once again, I thank y'all so much, and I look forward to sharing more of my life with y'all on the next episode of Not Your Average Joel. Goodbye.